Eagles are the better team. I can't say it any other way.
I don't really think everybody knows what they're about to witness.
I know talent when I see one. I should be an NFL scout.
Jonathan, I don't like that pick. I love that pick.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Door and Debate podcast, and welcome to our Week 5 reaction episode. Now, it is currently 8:26. The 49ers and Cowboys game just started, so I have this on to my right, so we'll keep track of that. But we are going to go through all the top Week 5 games from this week. The 1 o'clocks, the 4 o'clocks. 1 o'clock was kind of weird. It was kind of low scoring, like a little boring games. Obviously, the 1 o'clock had the Falcons game and the Steelers, but as far as like the teams, the best teams were playing at 4 o'clock. So I want to start with the London game because there was a London game, Bills versus Jags. The Bills ended up losing, and the Jaguars at this point should just be called the London Jaguars. I mean, they play amazing in London. Not that they played crazy good today, but I mean, they never lose in London. And even though Josh Allen, 359 yards, 3 touchdowns total, only 1 interception, he played out of his mind, was not enough to get the win. Travis Etienne, 136 yards rushing and a touchdown. Calvin Ridley, 122 yards. A couple things to note from this, and it's very important on the Bills side. Matt Milano. John, I think you have more on this, but it's potential that he could be out for the season?
Yeah, it's potential. They're looking at his knee injury. He had it in a cast, getting carted off the field. So unfortunate because he's their defensive captain.
And that's important because last game they lost Tre'Davious White, one of their best cornerbacks. So and they just get Von Miller back. So it sucks. You take one step forward, one step back with this defense. But Jonathan, let me hear your thoughts because obviously you don't like the Bills that much. And this game was probably a great thing to see for you, to see the Bills finally lose. But what did you take away from this game?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, it felt like a home game for the Bills because most of those London fans were Bills fans. You guys couldn't tell.
Surprisingly.
Yeah. But the thing is, like I've said before, the Bills will find a way to lose. The Bills will find a way to choke, and I knew it could happen any week, and it happened to happen in London this week. And so if you watch the entire game, the Bills started off slow. You know, they weren't getting the rhythm. You know, the Jags look pretty good out there today, guys. And so there's just AFC after AFC team piling up against the Bills that can beat the Bills. The Bengals, we didn't know about they could beat the Bills until last year. The Jaguars, now we know they could beat the Bills. The Bills want to see them in the playoffs. Obviously, you know what the Chiefs can do. And so you have all these AFC playoff caliber teams piling up that could potentially knock off the Bills even in round 1. So in terms of who they beat, the Bills beat who they're supposed to beat, right? You know, obviously last year in the playoffs, they should have beat the Dolphins. They barely beat them, right? With a backup third-string quarterback, right? The Bills, you know, they're not bad. They're not terrible, but, you know, they're probably above average. But if we're talking about elite tier teams, like the Bengals of the world that do good in the playoffs, the Chiefs of the world that do good in the playoffs, those caliber teams, if you talk about the Patriots of old, all those elite teams, the Bills aren't there. They have the talent there. They've had the talent, but they're still not there, unfortunately. And you talked about Matt Milano, him being injured for the year potentially. That's sad. And we talked about Tre'Davious White. He's out for the year as well. That is sad, but let's see, because Patrick Mahomes, his defense has been terrible for years, but he still manages.
It's always been good enough. It always does good enough.
No. He still manages.
Pull out a stat that shows he has a bad defense.
I mean, everybody knows it. Look at your eyes.
What do you mean everybody knows?
Everybody knows it. We've known it for years. His defense is always, it's like USC. His defense sucks, but they happen to win. Why? Because Patrick Mahomes is able to score points and find a way to win. Okay. Josh Allen, I don't want to hear any excuses now. His defense has been elite. He's had many opportunities to go far in the playoffs with his elite defense, and offense has been pretty elite too. But he finds a way to lose. They make mistakes. They're not consistent. And so I don't want to hear any excuses about those injuries and them out for the year. If Josh Allen's who we say he is, or who people think he is, then he has to find a way to tough it out throughout the season and go far in the playoffs. I don't care who's injured. This defense is not terrible without those guys. Yes, the captains, but
it's pretty terrible. I mean, I picked the Bills as my lock this week, which in hindsight was a bad pick. I probably shouldn't have, but also got unlucky. Defensive tackle also got carted off. I mean, they lost another cornerback. Then Milano gets carted off. So they were just playing depleted, and even to be within a score was impressive. But yeah, Jonathan, I agree. Long term, if we're talking about playoffs, it's concerning because Allen, unfortunately, as good of a quarterback as he is, he does need a good defense because he does make a lot of mistakes. So without that good defense, putting everything on Allen, like while we think of him as this great quarterback, he still does make mistakes. So long term, it's concerning. In the short term, I think they'll be fine. I think they'll still win the division.
Yeah, it's like the Phillip Rivers of old. He's gonna do really well in the regular season. He's gonna maybe make a 1 or 2 deep playoff runs and stuff, but he doesn't have the it factor. Josh Allen doesn't have the it factor. Again, I watch film. I know what I'm talking about. He doesn't have the it factor to win a Super Bowl. He just doesn't. He makes mistakes. If you make mistakes like that, I mean, you're not one of the best in the world.
I think what's frustrating with Allen is he has the talent.
He has the talent.
You watch games and there are just like boneheaded decisions, like simple stuff, like he runs and doesn't tuck the ball, like things that a rookie would do.
Yeah, or doesn't slide.
Yeah, like simple. For some reason, like when he gets in the moment, he either blacks out or he just forgets everything. And so those are the plays where you're like, okay, that's really weird because he's got a great arm, but he makes bad decisions, maybe throws into double coverage and all this other stuff. And it's like, man, if he didn't turn the ball over so much, like they'd be winning these games. I mean, he had an interception today, but those are like the frustrating things. And then you pile on like Diggs, you saw on the sideline, get really frustrated. I don't know if it was at Allen, but he was looking at the Microsoft tablet and he threw it down. And, once again, like the storyline is the same. It feels like the same storyline, different year. Diggs is pissed off at either Allen or the offensive coordinator or something. But it's like, man, can they not get over this hump? Like, I don't get it. I don't like at some point either Diggs is gonna want to leave or they're never gonna win anything. So it seems like the same story with the Bills. And now that Matt Milano's out, Tre'Davious White's out, it seems like the window for the Super Bowl is closing. Won't say that yet because it's very early, but it's just I think the Bills have been in contention for so long that they are eager for a Super Bowl or a playoff championship or something, and it's just frustrating to see that you travel to London. Like, can we really count this game in London? Like, it's just kind of like a game for entertainment at this point.
Right.
But can we really grade these guys on London games? Probably not.
What? Why not?
It's
not.
Jet lag, bro. They're all jet lag.
What about the Jags? The Jags are jet lag.
No, they're not. The Jags aren't jet lag. They played in London last Sunday against the Falcons, and they stayed in London.
Yeah, they stayed.
That's an excuse.
Oh, you're just saying. You see, you're trying to come up with all these excuses
guys,
for the Bills.
No, that's an excuse, guys. That's an excuse. And they're look, they've been in London for a few days. The jet lag's gone. They've been practicing there. That's just an excuse, guys. Look, against the top playoff teams, they don't stand a chance. The Jags, Bengals, Chiefs, they can't beat those three. They don't want to face those three.
Bengals.
And they're probably going to have to face one of those three in the first round.
Bengals.
We've partnered back up with Manscaped to give you guys 20% off and free shipping on all their items. That includes the Beard Hedger and all their below-the-waist grooming products. We all know how injuries can ruin a season, so let Manscaped protect that Reggie Bush of yours with their skin-safe technology. The leaders in below-the-waist grooming have created a championship lineup with their Performance Package 4.0. And it's time for you to do the same. Join the 9 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped and get ready for kickoff by going to manscaped.com and getting 20% off and free shipping when you use the code DORMDebate. Talk about the Bengals because, my goodness gracious, Jamar Chase had a day and a half.
Best game of his career.
Yeah, did you say it was a record 15 receptions, a Bengals record?
Yep.
So he had 15 receptions, 192 yards, and three touchdowns. Now, I thought DJ Moore might have had the fantasy game of the week, but Jamar Chase said, hold my beer, and he goes out and has a career day. And Burrow, 317 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. Pretty good day from him as well. He actually had a really deep, like 50-something yard passing touchdown to Chase. Finally, it feels right. They're back. Chase is back. Burrow is back. I know it was only the Cardinals, Jonathan, but everything feels right in the world now. Burrow's going. Chase is going. Right?
Well, the thing is, I knew something like this was going to happen because last week, Jamar Chase said he's open. He's always blinking open.
Yeah,
okay?
You knew it was coming.
Like 7-11.
Yeah, so when that happens, the quarterback's like, quarterback listens to that. He's like, okay, I'm going to throw you the ball like many times. And if you drop one, or you're going to get
better.
it.
Yeah.
So I knew he was going to test him. So, and that, like, if you're a good, hey, Caleb.
Hello.
Caleb.
We were just talking about your wide receiver.
Yeah. When you pick, when you throw to a top receiver like Jamar Chase like that often, he's gonna take advantage of it because he knows he hardly gets the ball, right? And so you have that combination, and you see a great game like you saw today with Jamar Chase, record game. So sometimes it's great to complain as a receiver because your quarterback sees that and he's like, okay, I'm gonna throw you the ball multiple times, and if you drop a few and have a bad game, then I'm gonna get onto you, right? And so that was a great game, and and that sort of is the secret. Find a way to get Jamar Chase the ball. And honestly, the Cardinals were playing man like more often than I thought they would, right? I mean, a lot of those far passes by Jamar Chase used one-on-one, right?
There's only that 50-yard plus touchdown pass. There was only one guy on him, probably the safety, and he beat him pretty easily. But I feel like that's what needs to happen with Diggs. Not to go back to the Bills, but like I feel like Allen just needs to be like, here's freaking 20 targets, and if we lose, so be it. But at least we targeted our best guy a bunch of times.
That's what Tua does with the target kill. He just throws it to him.
Caleb, welcome to the pod. Welcome to the Week 5 reaction.
Thank you.
Dude, you came at the right time. Jamar Chase, we're talking about him. Bengals finally get it clicking. They finally got a win. They scored more than 2 touchdowns. It's a miracle.
Yeah, a special shout out to you, John, for imploring me to start Jamar Chase. I was already in pain not having started. I'm going to lose to you, Jonathan. So I think we're all safe to acknowledge, that this is, this is your number 1 pick, got 50 points. So thank you. I am very grateful.
You're welcome.
I don't know if I could cope with another all-star performance.
Just for people's reference, I finished my live show on TikTok, as some of you might already be attending. And then I end the live show, and at 12:55 Eastern, 5 minutes before 1 o'clock, Caleb goes, "Oh, John, great live show." I was like, "Oh, thank you." So I was like, let me take a look at his bench just to see, because I want to see who's going to go off today. So I go to his bench, and Ridley had already gone off on his bench. So I'm like, all right. I see Jamar Chase, and I'm like, oh, Jamar Chase is my number 1 receiver today. So I text Caleb. I go, Caleb, please put Jamar Chase in. He's my number 1 receiver. I don't think any receiver will do better than him today. And he's like, all right, I'll throw him in.
You reminded me, because you were we were joking about you doing a segment on like my weekly benches that go off, and it was like a perfect, because I was like watching it, and I was moderating, so I was like keeping an eye on the chat and making sure people were behaving, not getting too crazy. I'm like, oh, Jamar Chase number 1, nice, and I just kind of acknowledged it but didn't comprehend it.
Yeah.
and then literally I was like, I think somewhere in my mind I was like, thank goodness I'm not starting Watson, because I don't think I would have. Someone in the comment, I was responding to some comments about what you had said to keep people like answering people, and I was like, yeah, don't start Watson. And then but hey, it worked. So
it's pretty amazing that finally, after all this time, not only do they like start clicking, but it's a career game. Like, who would have thought? Well, John did. But who would have?
How did you
who
know?
would have thought that like this game was going to be the career game by Jamar Chase after and the ugliest start to a season you could have?
If you were saying all this with me having him on the bench, it would hurt so bad.
Yeah.
Because I still think about the Lockett one, which was like 60, so it wasn't that far off.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Oh,
No,
man.
the only thing about the Bengals that I'm still a little bit concerned about is, yes, Chase had a great day, but other than Chase, nobody else really looked that good. Mixon had 29 touches of the football and got me 13 fantasy points. And I know we can't really go by fantasy points for real football, but he's got stopped at the 1-yard line 4 times today. And I mean, the run game is terrible. Burrow's always in shotgun or pistol, so Mixon can't really get a running start. I mean, they're playing the Seahawks next week, who have a bad run defense, but if they can't get that run game going, I know Chase is one of the best receivers in the league, but if two teams decide to double team him, there's nothing that they're going to be able to do.
Yeah, it's very tough because the opportunity is there for Mixon. What more do we need to do to put Mixon in the situations to make plays?
Right.
And then it's like, now you're like, all right, is Mixon even, is he one of those top tier running backs? Do we have to have that conversation? Which, I don't know, judging by this season and a little bit of last season, I mean, he had that 5 or 6 touchdown game years ago. But other than that, has he been that consistent of a running back to really say like he's a top 10 running back? Like, who knows? And they were even questioning bringing him back. Like, I remember he was in trade talks this offseason, and they were bringing in like Ezekiel Elliott and everybody. So it's at some point, maybe it's not, the Bengals offensive line and it's not the play calling, but it's just Mixon. I mean, look at P. Ryan today. P. Ryan had a great game today, and he did very, very well for the Bengals, and they let him walk. And that's it. Like, they don't have a great backup. TreVeyon Henderson messed up plays for him today, so they don't really have a solid running back. They have Chris Evans. He's inactive. I don't know why that happens, but if Chris Evans played, they would have helped a lot. But overall, the Bengals are back. They're on the right track. Does anyone know their next game? Their next game is
they're playing the Seahawks.
And then
they're
play
on a bye.
49ers. Okay, so they got to get a win against the Seahawks. They go on a bye, and then they lose to the 49ers. But
well, that's the thing. We're going to know when they play the 49ers because they're going to have a whole 2 weeks to get healthy and prepare. So there's no excuses. I still think they're lose to the 49ers, but I want to see it come down to the wire. Yes.
Do you guys actually think this is a get right game for the bank? Because it's against the Cardinals, and the Cardinals to beat the Cardinals aren't as chumps as we thought. But is this a get right game? You guys think?
I think so.
Like I think for confidence, yes. But you guys don't think it's like if there's quarterback issues and running issues. Part of me thinks it's the offensive line. But Jared, you did make a point that you can't give excuses. But
Jonathan knows this. We've been saying the Bengals' offensive line sucks for years, for the last 2 years. But how much more could the offensive line help you on the 1 yard line? Like you have to, that goes on Mixon to get that 1 yard. So we'll see. I mean, at least Chase is up and running. So Burrow and Chase, their connection's there. Everything should fall into place after this.
I can't believe I almost benched him. Like every week, someone on my bench goes off, and this week it would have been 2 were it not for John. So thank you, John, again.
Let's talk about
frustrating.
Let's talk about another player that you benched. Jalen
You know what
Hurts.
it does to the psyche to question every decision you make. You're so sure that you're right, and then you're wrong in it.
It's just amazing how well-rounded your team is.
It's not your fault that you have so many good players.
Yeah, like you drafted very well.
But then it's the one that I don't. The one that Hunter Henry got 0 points.
Yeah,
he's been
you didn't have a replacement, but Jalen Hurts.
I was gonna pick up Jonnu Smith though. I was literally like debating.
What did
You shouldn't have told us that.
Did he have a good game?
He had 10 points.
He had 10 better than Henry, who had 0.
Damn.
Yeah.
So the title I have: the Eagles brotherly shove their way to a victory in LA. Because my goodness,
that's a
nice
good one.
rhyme. Look at you.
I could not, for the life of me, comprehend how this Eagles team can execute the brotherly shove and nobody else can do it. I mean, John and I sat and watched many quarterback sneaks, And we're like, yeah, this is ridiculous.
Even
like
when it's like a full yard, like I'm talking might be a yard and a half, but they marked it as a yard. I'm like, are they going to do the shove from like a yard and a half away? And sure enough, they push them the whole way across.
Yeah, it's like a scrum. Like they literally move
it's rugby.
Freaking 11 guys, and they all move like this past the first down. I'm like, that is incredible, because John and I watched the 1 o'clock games, and there was like 4 or 5 QB sneaks. And some of them got it, some of them didn't. And then we see the Eagles do it, and you see them for the first time do it, and they move the whole pile. Aaron Donald's like on his back, and I'm like, how? How can you be that strong to do that? But yeah, I mean, yeah.
I have 3 theories because I thought about this. Well, first is people calling to ban it. I don't think it's founded because it's a play open to everyone. And for years, you know how frustrating it was for Tom Brady to have he was third and, Tom Brady mastered the QB sneak on the 1 yard. So it might not have been pushed, but that leads me to some of my, I think, 3 theories I just came up on the spot about, but I kind of been floating is, one is the pocket presence. I mean, you wouldn't think it's the pocket, but just being able as the quarterback to like feel in that split second where you're going to take the football. Tom Brady perfected it, and I think Hurts has that intangible feel to it. Then you add an exceptional offensive line with huge guys. I mean, the statistics that Johnson and Kelsey, just to name 2 guys. I mean, my lot has rugby experience. He says it's not like rugby, but like rugby's tougher in some ways. Mm-hmm. But like the stats those guys put up, I think it's like Johnson hasn't allowed a single sack, or that offensive line. I mean, you have a great offensive line, a quarterback who can do that. And obviously, I mean, kind of the third is the quarterback himself can, squat a heck ton. And
yeah, so, Jonathan, what'd your video say? Hurts squats 600.
More than 600 pounds.
Right.
No.
So you add all 3 of those.
Is that true?
Yeah,
you've seen the video.
You can see the video
where they're cheering them on in college.
Exactly.
Yeah. So that helps too.
That's part of it, because the Panthers, not to cut you off, but the Panthers actually take out Bryce Young, and they put in Andy Dalton for all their QB sneaks.
Oh, really?
Now. 1, to not get him injured, but 2, they said that Bryce Young just is too small to run the play.
It's a smart use of a backup, though. It's really smart, because then why risk? That's the one. I mean, Jalen Hurts has proven pretty durable, but that is always like you could. I don't think there's any argument that we have seen yet for like injuries, because like everyone comes out okay. It's like a very low. It's just a lot of force, like you're just falling over. I think the 4th thing I want to. A theory, and I have no way to prove this, but is a little bit about Mailata, who I think has experience playing rugby. And I wonder if his experience is like, you guys ever see the movie 300 when they're like taking the shields are all lined up, and then the army pushes on them, and they kind of absorb the blow, and then they coordinate the second push, like the second wind.
Yeah.
I feel like, I don't know, I'm not saying that's what they do, but I bet Mailata or someone like has a secret sauce kind of intangible, like, all right, this is how it's going to feel in this moment, because they know we're coming. They know we're coming. They're coming at us this way. So we got to like, on like three breaths in, then we all do the second wind and push. And like, that's kind of
because
what I picture.
The initial blow is a stalemate.
Yeah.
And they stop. And then you just see them slowly just move away. And you're like, holy crap. Like they both hit. And then the Eagles somehow just have that second wind to really just bring everyone past the first down. Like, I
think it's those 4
there's
things.
Something. There's
That'd be my guess, because then other teams like have tried it and failed. It's not a surefire play, because then if it was that easy, the one play I kind of talking about banning plays that we didn't see. If you guys saw in the Patriots special teams, they lined up on a field goal and they had a guy way out on the wing basically, and they had him run parallel to the yard line, yard of scrimmage, and then bolted and used the momentum to block the kick. And I'm like, that's kind of a play that's very clever. And I'm surprised teams haven't used it if it's legal, because it wasn't a flag. But that one I could see being a little dangerous, because he's like just winging it, trying to time the snap. But I'm surprised teams haven't been doing that more.
Shout out to Belichick's son, who's the special teams coordinator. But yeah, Pat McAfee looked at that play, and he said that he was more so looking at the holder, because the holder is looking up at the kicker, and then once the kicker says he's ready, he turns his head and opens his hands, and that's how they know that the snap's coming in like a second. And so he's looking at the holder more so than the snap. But
it's psychological pressure.
It's another like play to go back to the Eagles, where it's like not what's the word I'm trying to think of?
Innovative
play.
Yeah.
That
I'm
like
surprised
more
teams haven't tried it.
And no one's gonna ban it, because like no one's perfected it except for the Eagles, and same with the Patriots. No one's ever done it. So if we see more teams do it, it's going to be hard to do. Let's talk about the Rams on the other side, because John, Cooper Kupp is back, and he looked pretty good. Puka Nacua actually had more fantasy points. He stole a touchdown, but Cooper Kupp's back. What do you see for the future of Puka, for Cooper Kupp, for the Rams?
Yeah, I think this is a really good offense. We saw both of them get used. Puka Nacua had that long touchdown, but Kupp actually had more catches and more yards. So Puka ended up with 0.3 fantasy points more, but I expect this to be kind of like a Cooper Kupp, Robert Woods situation, if you guys remember when they were both on the Rams. And
healthy.
I mean, with Goff, it's going to be a great offense. I'm excited to see it. Tutu Atwell even got into the end zone, but week in and week out, I expect Kupp to have more fantasy points than Puka Nacua, but Puka's going to have those games where he gets, 5 catches for 60 yards and only gets 11 points, but he's going to have those games where he gets touchdowns and over 20 fantasy points as well. So I'm going to talk about it on TikTok probably this week, also on the Patreon. But if you guys are here, I'll give you guys the advice that if you have Puka Nacua, definitely keep him. Don't sell him too low, because he's still going to be used, and this still is a really good offense. I mean, the defense isn't great. We saw the Eagles score a lot of points and be able to move the ball. So this offense is always going to have to move the ball down the field, try to score. And I think it's a great offense with Kyron, Kupp. They didn't really use Higbee today, but they could use him as well.
They have weapons. Do you think it'll be with Nacua and Kupp be like almost? Would you compare it to like Smith and Brown? Because I'm an Eagles fan. Like, would you think it'd be something like that?
Yeah, I think it will be. Now, it's tough to say because Brown and Smith are two completely different receivers than Kupp and Nacua. But I do think in terms of like a fantasy perspective, I would agree. I think there's going to be some games that Devonta Smith has a great game and takes a back seat to A.J. Brown some other games. So I think that's going to be the same with Kupp and Nacua. I think Kupp will be that number one, and Nacua will, Devonta Smith didn't have a great game today. I think he only had 5 fantasy points, and Puka's going to do that at some point. But for the most part, they'll both be pretty consistent.
Yeah, I think that they use, they didn't even give Kupp a chance to, get worked in. They just started targeting him multiple times today. And so that's why he got injured, because of stuff like this. I mean, they overwork Cooper Kupp, in my opinion. So it's good to have Nacua, another reliable receiver there. Hopefully that can take some pressure off of him. But if you just saw the game today, like the first half, you just saw that, hey, this is probably why this guy got injured, because they really overuse him, especially the game after injury.
It slants over the middle, and he just gets blown up.
Yeah.
Reminds me of Edelman. Just how many hits those kind of hits they take. So
that's exactly who I thought.
The one thing with Stafford, I think Stafford's legit, but you definitely saw some of the rust with Kupp and Stafford's connection, a little bit of the overthrows. There's a lot of factors because the D-line pressure was immense. But I was curious. I'm interested. I don't think you're wrong, any of you, and it's just something I saw that I wanted to reflect on was Stafford's really famous for throwing to his top guy a lot, like proportionally more than other quarterbacks and their top guys. Obviously, that's obvious. You're going to throw to your top guy. But like a lot of receivers who are Stafford's number ones have their best careers ever under Stafford. So I wonder now they have a guy like Puka Nacua and then Kupp, and then it's like what's Stafford going to do as a quarterback? Because he's definitely not a one-option guy. He's just really good at getting it to the same guy over and over. It's frustrating for defenses. But I was wondering how he'll use them.
It seems like Nacua. I watched an analysis on him back in college, and he's considered more of a deep threat receiver. And then Kupp is more of obviously he could do everything, but majority of the time he's that Edelman slot, slant, catch pass, and
the
yards after catch. But Nacua back in college was high pointing the ball, deep threat. So we saw that today where they targeted Nacua deep for a touchdown, and Kupp got more of the receptions, Kupp got more of the yards and more of the volume, but then Nacua is going to have those chances deep to really get those bulk yards. I want to watch them, man, because Rams are not done. Eagles, I shouldn't have picked against them. I'm not doing that again. I don't know why I did it. I went back on my deal that I should never pick against the Eagles, but it won't happen again.
The next week.
It's literally the next week I did it. I don't know what happened to me. There's nothing in this head. Nothing. The one game I want to talk about is, well, actually, here's my 10 seconds of victory lap. Desmond Ridder
Yeah.
You all can suck it. You all can suck it. Okay.
I did have
Desmond
the Texans as my
Ritter.
upset.
But it's because he was at.
300
It's
What?
because he was at home. That's it.
That's fine. That's fine. That's fine.
We did talk
But
about
everyone
this, right?
was
Like,
like,
as long as it's at home. So
Everyone was talking about C.J. Stroud, and then Desmond Ritter outplays him. It's just that simple.
It was an impressive last drive. I will say that.
he's got
Thank
that.
you.
He's got that grit. I've seen him in a couple of those last drives to keep the team in. I between the Texans and the Falcons this year, I did pick the Texans for the upset. So tip my hat to you, Jared. But those are two teams I like to see
I
what
told you not
will
to do it.
happen.
Yeah, so
Ooh.
the Falcons won 21-19, game-winning field by Younghoe Koo. So yeah, just Desmond Ritter, the Falcons, dude, never give up. I'm standing 10 toes down.
Never back down, never what?
Never give up. The last game I want to talk about, and Jonathan, I need you to chime in on this one. The Baltimore Ravens and the Pittsburgh Steelers. So the Ravens ended up losing 10-12. I've never seen a score like that. I don't know if it's scoregami.
How did
but
how did they do that?
George Pickens, 130 yards.
Wait,
and a
it
touchdown.
was 10-17.
Oh, 10-17. Oh, did they score that fumble or no?
No, it was 10-17.
Oh, okay. I must have been a typo. So 10-17, George Pickens 130 yards, 1 touchdown. The biggest plays, there were 3. Joey Porter Jr. interception at the 1-yard line, a blocked punt turned into a safety, and a strip sack to end the game, which was picked up by TJ Watt, picked up the fumble for the win. So those 3 things basically was like a chain reaction, and the Ravens lose. Now, the Ravens were on their way to being number 1 in the AFC North, and actually they were going to go 4-1, and every win that they've had was going to be a road win against a division rival.
Oh,
So-
I was thinking about the Steelers. This is a big divisional.
It was huge.
Yeah.
Then every divisional game is going to be at home for the Ravens for the rest of the season.
Wow.
And now it's like, what do you think of this Ravens team? Jonathan, you picked them to win the division. Is this concerning? This offense is just sputtering.
Yeah, it is concerning. And, the AFC North is so, tough to watch because they all aren't playing the best right now. But the thing is, I was kind of getting annoyed by Lamar Jackson. He asked for this massive contract. He's holding out and all that, and then he does this. I mean, if you're going to ask for that contract and run your mouth and all that and be your own agent, then you got to play better than this. You got to put the team on your back. That's why Patrick Mahomes is great. That's why some of these, that's why Tom Brady was great. If they, say they want a big contract or whatever, then they're going to put the money where the mouth is. Lamar Jackson, you didn't do that. You played like an average guy. So why did they pay you so much money? And so that's what's frustrating. So, it's been a few years. We can't keep on, giving him or cutting him some slack. You got to go far in the playoffs. You got to play better than this. You got to win these games, especially against Kenny Pickett, who, like, this offense hasn't been the best. You gotta show that, hey, there's a reason why I got this massive contract. And I couldn't tell the difference between the 2 quarterbacks today. And so yeah, that was frustrating. Only 10 points. That's concerning. And look, I know the Steelers defense is good. TJ Watt is a great player, but Lamar, you're literally your most valuable thing is that you can use your legs. That's your most valuable thing. And so you can't run away from TJ Watt or do something to extend the play.
You know what I want to say about that? Lamar ran it a lot today, and he still is elusive, but he seems slower. And I know, like, he is just older, and maybe that just happens with people, but it feels like he is significantly slower.
How old is he?
And the older you go, yeah, he's probably very late 20s or something like
Yeah,
that.
he's got to be
Really?
like 26.
He's 26. That's like prime.
God.
He's 20,
In
26. He's
in
1 year
Madden
older than
or
us,
FIFA,
guys.
that's like when your player's at the peak.
Yeah, like, I don't know, for Lamar, I mean,
27, 28.
he's been running since he was in college, so maybe
He's in
it's just, like,
pain.
he's had a lot of injuries. I don't know, but
Yeah.
it just seemed to me that he looked slower. John, you were here.
I think that's true, but for like lateral movements, when he was running straight down the field, like making one cut, that's good. But what was more concerning to me was, now, Zay Flowers missed a pass early in the game. Then he missed the deep pass because he tripped. Rashad Bateman missed a touchdown that was in his hands. And then Lamar underthrew Odell on a fade, which was the Joey Porter Jr. Interception. That was ridiculous. But yeah, I think it was a series of unfortunate things, like Flowers missing that, Bateman missing that, the interception in the end zone to Beckham, Marlon Humphrey giving up a 60-yard touchdown to George Pickens. I mean, it was his first game of the season coming off of that foot injury, so maybe you cut him some slack. But other than Pickens, who can he go to? Freiermuth is out, Deontay Johnson is out. It's not going to be
Austin.
Najee Harris. Like, you got to put a safety over the top. You can't give up big plays. So it's concerning in that respect, and they don't really have a run game with Dobbins not there, and Justice Hill just, he's not that good. So, yeah, I'm on the same page as you guys. Like, this division is ridiculous. It's so tough to predict because any given Sunday, anybody could win any of these games that these teams play. So it's ridiculous. I still stand by the Bengals winning the division by the end of the year, but who knows?
The entire way, Jonathan, you described Lamar like asking for this big contract and not performing as well today. I feel like some fans of certain teams could think you were talking about Joe Burrow. And today was as if like Lamar absorbed all the negative Joe Burrow quarterback play and like performed with that, and then like Burrow was clean.
Or
he's like, I'm back
Daniel
to myself.
Jones.
Oh damn. Yeah,
Daniel
it went.
Jones.
Lamar made a big deal out of it and everything, and that's why it's kind of annoying. You do all that
Tweet.
and play like this.
But he did play. They won more than the Bengals though. Like literally, Burrow was the most recent before Mahomes, and it was the biggest of all time. And then it was like 0-3, not 0-3, but they were not.
I think
clicking
it's
till today.
Yeah, I mean it's tougher because there were a lot of drops for one, but then a fade like that to win the game on the 1 yard line and you underthrow Odell, it just didn't like. It's like, yeah, maybe all the drops and like you could maybe blame the receivers, but then to win the game and you do that, like you're not helping yourself.
Yeah.
But the Ravens
maybe not
are
a good
still
day.
They're still 4-2.
Still early.
It's one loss. It's a divisional game, so like if anybody's gonna beat them, the Steelers are gonna know how to beat them. That's pretty much it for me. I don't know if you guys want to talk about any other games. We talked about the Bills in London because they lost to the Jags, but yeah, I feel like everything else we've covered. I mean, this Cowboys 49ers game is pretty stinker, right?
Well, they're trying to figure out if the 49ers recovered this Pollard fumble inbounds.
Yeah.
Pollard fumbled at his own 12-yard line.
So right now, as we're
I don't think
recording,
it
it's
I
0-7 San Francisco.
Yep, 38 seconds in the first.
Yeah, I'm good. I mean, who do we all think's gonna win this game?
Oh my gosh, it's easy. 49ers are good. It might be a blowout. I'm concerned.
No, Cowboys gonna win this. You'll see.
I'm surprised it's so close because 49ers start.
Kittle got the first touchdown.
Oh, dang it! I was gonna pick him up.
Me too, dude.
Because you dropped him.
I just dropped him, yeah, because
And then I saw his record.
I wanted because I needed
both?
to pick up Breece Hall, so I was like, the only person I could drop is Kittle.
I think Kittle's numbers. I don't feel as bad as not getting him over Smith, but his numbers for the week it was like
you guys could have Kittle.
Yeah, I'm like
I'm still gonna win.
Oh no, I feel
if the fans, if you guys heard my team in this league, I know it's a 6-man, but I don't have enough bench spots for all the good players.
We'll see. It's
I have Breece Hall and Achane, not to mention Eckler and Jonathan Taylor and Tony Pollard.
How'd Jonathan Taylor do today?
I don't have Pollard. He only got 4 points. He was on my weekly sit list.
Yeah, so you're right.
Zach Moss had a career day.
Had himself a freaking day. I had him on the bench. So that'll wrap up today's episode of a Week 5 reaction episode. Thank you guys so much for tuning in and watching. If you haven't already, go over to our TikTok and our Instagram at Don't Debate Podcast. Sauce us a follow around there. And if you are not subscribed, what are you doing, bro? Seriously, like that's offensive that you're not subscribed. So hit that subscribe button, hit the like button. Every week. And if you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, please leave us a 5-star review. Thank you guys so much for watching. Yeah, it helps us out a lot. Thank you guys so much for watching, and as always, we'll see you guys next week.